remember where you are.
Where to go? Okay. Yes, sir. You have a...
I'm just coming over here looking for lyrics for These Hands Will Do the Work. Who's
Oh, I put them in the script.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Feet will carry me. Will be welcoming to his eyes can see. Okay.
Because, Juliet Whale Maiden, but
Yes.
it didn't come out right.
All right.
So you're going to see this thing.
Okay.
And just understand it. It's a whale.
Yep. I gotcha. All right. Thank you. It's, okay, watch your step.
Hello. Okay. Good to be seen. Careful. Could I get a music stand? Thank you. Lovely. Isaiah, that work for you?
That works, yeah.
I'm gonna need those lyrics.
All That was these hands.
That's who?
These hands, this heart.
It's on YouTube video. You can come through.
Okay.
I'll literally, I'll text it to you.
13. Okay, this is July 20th. Okay. Uh, 2 minutes? 2 minutes. Okay, at least 1 minute. 90 seconds. Okay. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Let's get this show on the road. Let's begin with our anchor song, number 1015, I Know I Can. I invite you to stand in body or spirit and sing number 1015. Thank you, band. Thank you all. We will go on. Good morning. Welcome, everyone. My name is Crystal Norman. My pronouns are she and her. I serve this congregation as Buildings and Grounds co-chair, and today I am serving as worship associate, along with Joshua. In this sanctuary, this sacred space, no matter our spiritual beliefs, we share joy by centering ourselves in love and embracing the 6 shared values of Unitarian Universalism. At its roots, the word religion means to bind together, and we are bound together by our values and the covenants we make about how to live those values. Living into our covenants is what makes us faithful UUs. Today, we begin down our path of living love through the practice of freedom. We continue practicing freedom today. We will explore the importance of our theological imaginations as we live into our shared UU value of transformation, which calls us to adapt to the changing world by covenanting to collectively transform and grow spiritually and ethically. Transformation calls us to remember that openness to change is fundamental to our Unitarian and Universalist heritages. Never complete and never perfect. Thank you for joining us today as we aspire to transform our world with love. And Joshua will read opening words.
Good morning, UUCL. And to those of you who do not get the cinematic reference, see me later. My name is Joshua Sussman. I use the pronouns he and him. My best friends call me Schwa. And today I am the worship associate. And I am going to read The Healing and Freedom by Reverend Gretchen Haley, or Haley. Freedom has a rhythm to it, a longing our bodies know without words, a movement away from everything small and scared, a walking up to possibilities, healing backwards and forwards. Even now, we are beginning again, unafraid of this much mercy, tenderness, pleasure we come to lean in, to learn the sound of liberation, like the sound of our names receiving and releasing. We come to be free for more than ourselves, to call love the greatest liberty, to sing of loyalty, courage, and kindness, to remember we are all doing the best we can. Despair hasn't gotten us yet, nor overwhelm, which is a kind of miracle, surrounded as we are by as much beauty. Come, let us worship together. Okay. Crystal, you have something to say about the I-4 Corridor Community Forum?
There is an I-4 Corridor Community Forum, a crucial community discussion regarding the affordability crisis in Central Florida on August 5th from 6 to 9 p.m. Featured speakers include David Jolly and Billy Townsend. I believe it's at the Polk Theater. There is more information on Mobilize. The I-4 Corridor Community Forum on August 5th. And Jen, you have more information? Do you have announcements? We also have Wednesday, July 23rd. This Wednesday is the Interfaith Coalition of Polk County's Friends of Faith Potluck. What are you going to read?
What am I going to bring?
Something else. What are you going to bring?
Put me on the spot.
It's potluck at 6:30 p.m. at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints on Lakeland Highlands Road. We'd love to have a group of folks from UUCL there. I do plan to attend.
I do too.
And
I'm
to
doing a smoked chuck roast.
oh, Joshua's bringing roast meat. Helen?
Don't forget that you have to RSVP to Sherry.
RSVP to Sherry. Okay. And Jen, you have more information?
Hi, I am Jen Dean. My pronouns are she and her, and I am the chair of Board of Trustees. I am up here asking, the board is currently seeking a recording secretary. What the commitment would be was maximum once a month, maximum probably 3 hours once a month. We try to keep it at 2. We do ask that you're detail oriented. Sometimes it's fast paced, but we do give the secretary breaks if we know they're falling behind. So if you have any interest in sitting at the board table and learning about what the board is doing, but you're not actually fully involved, you're just kind of listening and recording, please contact me. There will also be an announcement in the newsletter on Monday. Thank you.
Okay.
Excellent. And our chalice lady.
Well, just please check the back of your program for any other things that we may have inadvertently missed.
Yes, or your email. Check your emails,
Check your
please.
email. And I have asked Dakota to light our chalice.
Come on up, Dakota.
And if you will wait until I finish the last words of this, and I'll give you a nod to light it. Reminder of the Inner Light by Jeffrey David Miller. This fire is a reminder of the light within us all, the yearning for freedom, the longing for truth, the flame of intuition, the torch of conscience. We dedicate this service to the remembrance of this holy light.
Thank you, Dakota.
Thank you. And now, if you would please rise in body or spirit and sing in English and Spanish, Spirit of Life.
Hymn number 123.
Well, aren't you?
And now we have a message for all ages, and we invite the young people to come forward. Anyone who
Young
would
and
like,
young at heart.
Young and young at heart. So we have today a story called Inventor McGregor. Come on down. It's written by Kathleen T. Pelly, pictures by Michael Chesworth. Inventor McGregor. Hector McGregor lived in a higgly-piggly house with a cheery wife, 5 children, and a hen called Hattie. Higgly-piggly-piggly. Mend it McGregor, everyone called him, because he could mend most anything that needed mending, from fishing rods and fairy wands to top hats and rubber ducks. Day after day they brought him their squeaky skates, squiggly spoons, wobbly wagons, tangled kites, knotted yo-yos, headless dolls, and footless soldiers. With a blob of glue or a squirt of oil and a tap of a hammer, a shimmy here, a shimmy there, Hector McGregor fixed whatever need fixing and sent everyone on their way with a skip and a hop and a hum. He's at his... all the tools he had. He fixed things with tools. In between his gluing and oiling and hammering, Hector McGregor liked to stroll down the winding lane at the back of his house where blue flowers grew and the smell of the flowers lingered nice and sweet. There he sang a snippet of a song or twirled and whirled and flinged. Sometimes he pulled out his palette of colors, his paints, and painted a picture on an easel. Then back to his work he went with a heart that was happy and full. It's fun to do that. Makes you happy, doesn't it? And every night, before the shades were drawn, Hector McGregor nestled his fiddle beneath his chin and played a rousing reel, which is a song, or a sweeping strathspey, which is a different kind of song. Well, all around the house, from pantry to parlor, his cheery wife, his 5 children, and his hen called Hattie whirled and whooshed and weed. See, they're having a grand opening. See, he plays the fiddle. Just like a violin, yeah. One day, Angus, the postman, stopped by to have his bag patched. That wee scoundrel of a Scotty down Loopy Lane has torn it to tatters again, he grumbled. Dear me, said Hector McGregor. We need to stop that scallywag. Leave it to me. I'll think of something. See, his bag is torn, so he can't carry the post, the mail, it'll fall through. We need the pick. Right? The next day, Hector McGregor handed Angus a shiny new bag covered with all sorts of buttons, dangling cords, and flapping flaps. What's this? Asked Angus. It's a barking bag, said Hector McGregor. Whenever you see that Scotty, just push this button and flip this flap and it'll set off a barking noise as loud as 100 wolfhounds. With his new bag slung over his shoulder, Angus, the postman, went on his way. By the end of the day, the whole town had heard the story of how the barking bag had sent the Scotty fleeing with his tail between his legs. So you see the bag barking at the dog. Now, everyone wanted Hector McGregor to concoct some thingamabob or thingamajig to make their world a little better and brighter. When Mrs. McKay complained about her boys who dawdled and dilly-dallied all the way to school, Hector McGregor crafted detachable monkey tails so they could swing and swoop and swish their way through the treetops on their way to school. Like monkeys in the tree. Amazing if they make it to school alive. To lighten the children's school bags, he invented a paper pump that blew up their balloon books with helium. Now down the road, they sauntered, clutching their books above them like a bunch of bobbing balloons. See, she's got her books away now. Yeah, that's fun. For Mrs. McIver, who had triplets and a husband at sea, Hector McGregor pieced together some helping hands that she could strap to her shoulder every morning with a flick of a switch, and off it went, wiping noses and tying laces. For Jamie Campbell, who always slept through his alarm clock, Hector McGregor built an alarm bed that popped his head from the pillow like a jack-in-the-box. And for wee Willie Beatty, the smallest boy in his class, Hector cobbled a pair of bouncing boots so he could see over the walls and fences and heads. Inventor McGregor, everyone called him now, because he could invent most anything that needed inventing, they said. And in between his ideas simmering and sparking, Hector McGregor still liked to stroll down the winding lane at the back of his house where the blue flowers grew. There he sang his snippet of a song, painted a picture, and twirled a whirl. He painted a beautiful picture. Yeah. One day, the president of the Royal Society of Inventors, Nigel Withers, paid Hector McGregor a visit. "Congratulations, Mr. McGregor," he said. "We're so impressed with all your inventions that we'd like you to become a member of our society. We want you to start working for us immediately in your very own laboratory in the city." "Why, well, thank you," said Hector McGregor, "but I don't think I'll need a laboratory. You see, I like working here where I can sing and paint and—" "Oh, no, no, no," protested Mr. Withers. "Real inventors don't have time for all that nonsense. They invent, that's all. Just imagine how many more gadgets and gizmos you'll be able to think up with a clear head and no distractions." Hector McGregor scratched his chin. He said, "Maybe you're right. They want to take them to the city." And the next week, Hector McGregor set off to work in the city in his very own laboratory, or laboratory, as they might say. Mr. Withers gave him a long white coat and a badge that read, "Inventor McGregor." See, he's got a long white coat. Inventor McGregor. Outside his door hung a sign that said, "Quiet, inventor, inventing." And there he is, in a rather dull-looking space. It's blank. All day, Hector McGregor sat at his drawing board in the laboratory thinking about what to invent. He thought, and he thought, and he thought. So long did he think that by the time he arrived home at night, all his children were asleep in bed, and his cheery wife sat dozing by the fire with Hattie the hen asleep in her lap. The next day was no different, nor the next, nor the one after that. Day after day, week after week, Hector sat at his drawing board in the laboratory, staring out at the window at the toy store across the street. He thought, and he thought, but no matter how long or hard he thought, no ideas came to him. Soon people stopped calling him Inventor McGregor. Whenever he walked down the street, the people whispered, "It's sad. It's a mistake. He's not a real inventor." Hector McGregor hung his head in shame. Whenever Mr. Withers popped his head into the laboratory, Hector saw the frown in his eyes and felt shame. Maybe I'm not a real inventor after all, he thought. Maybe I should give back my badge and the code in the laboratory. But as he was thinking this, he noticed some workers painting the toy store across the street. Suddenly, an urge tickled his brain and into his fingertips. Up he bolted out the door. He flew across the street. He dashed. "Quick! I need to borrow your brushes and paint." Bewildered and befuddled, the men handed them over. Back to his laboratory raced Hector with the buckets dangling from his arms, clutching a brush in each hand. He began to slosh and swish the colors across the laboratory wall, splish, splash, splash. First, he painted a picture of his cheery wife sitting beneath a plum tree on the side of his house. Next came a picture of his 5 children paddling in the pond. Next, Hattie the hen appeared, pecking corn at the bottom of the winding lane. It's quite colorful. Fun. Much more fun than a boring blank laboratory. Then Hector threw down the brushes and beamed at all the faces he loved splashed across the wall. With a hoot and a holler, he dashed out the door and flew down the street. "Where are you going?" Mr. Weathers called after him. "Home! To my happy, happy home!" cried Hector. Back at his higgledy-piggledy house, Hector kissed his cheery wife, his 5 children, and his hen called Hattie. He strolled down the winding lane behind his house where the blue flowers grew, and he sang a snippet of a song and twirled a whirl. See? And he painted a picture of a marmalade cat curled up in a patch of sunlight, and back to his inventing he went, with a happy heart. Week after week, one more incredible invention after another spilled out of him. Peppermint pencils, doggy Wellingtons, jelly bean erasers, tartan grass, mufflers to warm noses, and books that glowed in the dark. Inventor McGregor, everyone called him again, because he could invent most anything that needed inventing. They said as long as he could sing and paint and fiddle and fling and love all that he had to love. And every night, Inventor McGregor nestled his fiddle beneath his chin and played a rousing reel or a sweeping straspe, while all around the house, pantry to parlor, his cheery wife, his children, and his hen called Hattie whirled and whooshed and weed. The end.
It just proves the old saying, if you find a job that brings you joy, you'll never work a day in your life.
That's right.
Oh, I got something different.
Oh, okay. So we
Okie
invite
dokie.
you to put your stones in, and then we will sing These Hands, This Heart.
I don't disagree with you.
Yes. And you can take the book with you if you want to see more of it. You're welcome to take it.
Just let the adults know, we're gonna do the song 2 ways. One the old, and then we got a new way.
New way. Awesome. Good work.
Look,
These feet will carry me. These arms will be welcoming to what these eyes can see.
This mind will stay open to the possibility. And the love in this heart will set me free.
And 1, 2, 3, 4. These hands will do the work. These feet will carry me. These arms will be welcoming to what these eyes can see. This heart will stay open to the possibility. And the love in this heart will set me free. Woo! Thank you, Isaiah and Adam. Joshua, lead us in our sharing of abundance.
Here we gather, tucked back in this friendly neighborhood between the beautiful tall pines. We're a community of people who have arrived from many different paths, yet we seek a common goal, to bring more love to a hurting but beautiful world. We do this by building our UUCL community with our time, talents, and treasures. We shared UU values with generosity. Our shared UU values of generosity calls us to covenant with one another that we freely and compassionately share our faith, presence, and resources so that the dream of a beloved community becomes a reality. Please help us grow to our dreams as the ushers pass a plate for our collection.
And today we share the plate. We're going to support our congregation's children back to school. Back to school time can be sometimes difficult with families, for families with the rising costs of supplies, clothing, and food. So please consider donating generously to help ensure that the congregation's children and their families can have a less stressful start to the school year. And if there's any money left over after helping our congregation's children, it will be used to buy school supplies to hand out at the next First Friday. Thank you. Some sacred noodles. I love those yummy sacred noodles.
And now Crystal is going to light our healing candle. This prayer is written by Reverend Darcy Lane. Let us offer a moment of prayer, each in our own way, for those whose freedoms are curtailed, for those who are in prison or in a detention center, for people who are bought and sold in illegal human trafficking, for all those freedoms that are limited because of their gender or sexual orientation, for those who feel trapped in an abusive relationship. We ask for clarity to speak and act on their behalf when we could help bring more freedom to the world. We offer our compassion. We ask the Spirit of life to move towards liberation and justice. You got the book. Our rituals of joys and sorrows, concerns and sorrows embodies the belief that through connection, our lives, our freedoms expand. This is because the act of gathering, of sharing, of deeply connecting gives us courage. And in this world in which we must navigate many joys and sorrows, it is the courage we give one another that sets us free from the weight of being lost and alone. In our Joys and Sorrows book, we are able to write any significant joy or sorrow occurring in our life that you would like for the congregation to know. Today we have
July 20th. I'm happy to return to my beloved faith community yet again, says Julia with a cute picture of a whale. From Vaisel, he says, June was a tough month for me, but I survived. Yes, indeed.
Yay.
Happy July 20th.
And just a quick note, I didn't write in the book because I wanted. If you saw my handwriting, you'd understand why I didn't write in the book. Petra had cataract surgery last Wednesday, and apparently she's having a bad reaction to it, and is at Lakeland Regional Hospital right now. She's been there since Friday, and hopefully she'll be coming home today. We'll see what the doctors say. In the meantime, if you got a minute, throw some special energy her way. Thank you.
Thank you. We invite you to place stones. Yep. Yes, you're invited now to come forward for our ritual of joys and sorrows, connecting to others, feeling the power of being together in this sacred community. And we'll place a few stones in for those folks joining us on the interwebs, as well as Vaisel assisting us in the tech room today. Thank you so much, Vaisel, for getting us technologized today.
That's a word.
It is, indeed. Yeah. I invite you to take a deep breath in and a long, slow breath out. between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Quote by Viktor Frankl. And we invite you now to sing in body or spirit and number 1046, Shall We Gather at the River? 1046, Shall We Gather at the River? Here we go. Thank you, band. Today's message is a sermon entitled Spiritual Freedom, and it was written by the Reverend Darcy Lane, minister of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Athens and Sheshaquin, PA. It was not written by me. I will be reading it today. Okay, let us begin. Question: how much freedom do we really have? Sometimes our lives can feel very constricted. We don't have enough time to do the things we want. We don't have enough money to buy the things we need. Cultural norms may limit our freedom in what we do and say. We have responsibilities to our families and obligations to our employers. Sometimes we can feel boxed in by the external realities of our lives. And because we are called to live an ethical life, an authentic life, a compassionate life, we can feel like the choices shrink even further. I often feel a sense of constriction trying to make the right choice, the perfect choice. I agonize about whether I am doing the right thing. I happened to listen to an interview with Kieran Trace, author of a book called Tools for Sanity. Might need to get that book. Who who claims that our true nature is freedom, that we in fact have oceans of freedom, maybe a river of freedom in some cases. I really like the sound of oceans of freedom. I felt better just hearing her say it. But what does that mean? I think she was pointing us towards a spaciousness that is available in us and all around us if we open ourselves to it. Years ago, my yoga teacher used to talk about making spaciousness in our yoga poses. And we can do that with our breath as well. So I invite you again to take a nice deep inhalation and a nice slow, long exhalation. Perhaps you might notice a bit more space in your body after that. They say our real job is to be space makers while practicing yoga. Even though we may be holding a difficult pose or a boring pose, they challenge us to create a sense of spaciousness in whatever position we're in. For those of you who don't practice yoga, imagine an ice cube tray coming out of the freezer. At first, the ice is adhered to the plastic tray, but if you wiggle it and twist it, the ice cube fits out more loosely and you can release it. Sometimes we see our limits like walls around our lives. And we spend so much energy, so much attention pushing against those walls. But we can also turn our attention to the freedom that we have within those constraints, even if it's just as much as an ice cube has in its tray. Consider our clever inventor, Mr. McGregor. Anyone can imagine that being a parent of 5 young children may provide significant limits to one's personal freedom, especially on a limited salary. And yet, within those limits, Mr. McGregor found and created a life for himself, where between gluing and oiling and hammering, he took the time to walk down the flowery winding lane in the back of his house, to paint and to fiddle and enjoy his family. This is one way of looking for freedom in our lives. Maybe when we are feeling cramped by our job, our financial situation, or our families, maybe we can wiggle around a bit in our lives and see where space can be found. I discovered recently that when I get up earlier, I enjoy the wiggle room of having an extra bit of time to make a healthy breakfast and eat at my own quiet pace. I could also get up earlier and practice yoga. I find the extra time for myself in choosing to get up. If we look for it, we may find ways to make space for ourselves. We may find freedom to choose a path that feels right to us. It may be hard to believe in those oceans of freedom, but no matter how tightly we squeeze our fingers together, water will always find a way to drip out of your cupped hands. Could we believe at least in a trickle of freedom? Could we see the gaps and spaces where freedom flows inside of us? We might start by noticing all the choices we make every day. A friend felt stuck in a job where, after years of her loyal service, the corporate culture around her turned toxic. "I'm choosing to stay," she said. "I'm not stuck, this is my choice." Our choices don't always feel good, but they are still choices. And this affirmation that she had, the freedom to stay or go, helped her stay sane while she put aside a financial safety net week after week until the day when she said, with both trepidation, and joy, I gave my notice today. Whatever the external limits to our freedoms, there's always a possibility of cultivating our inner freedom. This kind of freedom is harder to define, is slipperier, because it is so personal. Only you know for sure when you feel a sense of freedom in your heart, in your mind, and in your spirit. Many spiritual traditions encourage us to cultivate inner freedom. And in our UU principles, we talk specifically about a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. This value on freedom is not something hippies came up with in the 1960s, is it, Kino? It has been an explicit part of our faith since the Act of Religious Tolerance and Freedom of Conscience in 1568, when King John Sigismund declared, "No one shall compel them, for their souls would not be satisfied." Or, as the Universalists wrote in their Winchester Profession of 1803, "Let every man or person be fully persuaded in their own mind." Freedom of thought, freedom of belief is a cornerstone of our faith tradition. We believe that a sense of inner freedom, a sense of inner spaciousness, is a sign that we are headed in the right direction of our journey of spiritual growth. When this reverend was training to be a spiritual director, we talked a lot about freedom. We talked about how to avoid limiting the freedom for those who came to us for direction, for perhaps guidance, maybe spiritual guidance. It's funny how subtle those limits can be. A casual comment like, "You must feel very sad," can put someone in maybe a bind. If you're an authority, if you say they must feel sad, they might look at their inner experience through that lens. But what if that's not quite what they're feeling? What if they're really feeling angry or ashamed? Then they have to choose between disagreeing with you or putting aside their own experience to follow your suggestion. So we learn to mostly ask questions. How do you feel? And perhaps, do you feel sad? It turns out I'm particularly susceptible to such things. I want to give the right answer. I really want to be agreeable. It's to be easy to work with. But when they sent out the monthly reflection form, I felt a sense of inner constriction. I dreaded it. I put it off. Finally, I choose honesty as a starting place. And I wrote, "I feel a surprising amount of resistance to filling out this form. It just feels physically bad to have to take all the extremely personal, beautiful, deep parts of my life and put them on a piece of paper like a high school assignment or a job application. I feel some inner door closing as I look at the form. It puts me in a tight spot where I must answer these questions or fail to keep my commitments to the program." As you might expect, facilitators replied with, "We're sorry you don't like the form. Would you like to talk?" And the form is for you to use however you want it. I had seen that form as a narrow box and had tried to shove myself into it, but that was my projection, my assumption. I'd assumed there were external limits to my freedom, but when I tested those limits, I learned that there was plenty of freedom there for me to be who I am and express my truth. So, the next retreat I went, we were given the assignment to write in our journals. I literally write about my spiritual reflections for a living. I love my work, but I'm on retreat. I was filled with a rebellious spirit, determined to claim my freedom. I noticed there was a craft room near our meeting space. And I went in and I got a box of colored pencils and did my journaling for the remainder of the retreat in doodle form. In fact, some of the images I doodled turned out to be powerful and useful in my process, transformative even. I think some of that freedom to express what needed to be expressed came from the fact that I never really draw. I have no confidence or expectations of my drawing, whereas I've come to expect my words to be measured and carefully thought and grammatically correct. But with colored pencils, I can escape expectations of form and technique. Such a small rebellion led to a huge opening of inner gates. There was freedom available to me when I went looking for it. I think of my little dog when he makes a bed for himself. With your puppies, you have little beds for them. They might find their spaces, yes? He is quite ingenious with the way he pokes and shoves whatever blanket or pillow he has. He hollows out a little space for himself that's just right and finally settles in. In our human lives, some structures do not give, no matter how many times we turn in a circle or dig at them or nose at them. Sometimes his custom bed involves a pile of shoes or laundry or anything else. Once he's satisfied, he just plops down, whatever the case. We spend many Sundays here talking about how to move some of those big external obstacles to freedom. For example, economic inequality, systemic racism, mass incarceration, rigid gender roles. But to be truly useful, our tradition must help us when those external realities of our lives are unyielding. Like when funding is cut for our public stations. While we fight for freedom in the outer world, we must also claim the inner freedom that is a type of resistance. A stream, a river, takes its form from the bed it runs. And if it weren't for the soil and the rocks and the roots that shape and limit its flow, it would be a wetland or a pond. Freedom may be our true nature, but limits give our lives our unique shape. When Hector McGregor was given all the time he needed to invent, no distractions, no demands, just a clean, empty page in a clean, empty room, he froze. He had no inspiration. It reminds me of a 20th century composer, Stravinsky's notion of the abyss of freedom. When all the external limits disappear, we still have to make choices, or we can't move around in the world. Complete freedom may leave us like inventor McGregor, staring into emptiness. So we must ask, freedom for what? In his book titled Everything Belongs, the author Richard Rohr puts it this way. We have defined freedom in the West as the freedom to choose between options and preferences. That's not primal freedom. That's a secondary or even tertiary freedom. The primal freedom is the freedom to be the self, the freedom to live in the truth despite all circumstances. That primal freedom is not contingent on anything external. That is a way of being in the world, a way of being in our own hearts and minds. Now, I don't want to underestimate the very real limits to our external freedoms, like having to choose between paying the electric bill or the rent or a brutal schedule of chemotherapy or facing mass incarceration, deportation, and white supremacy culture. But Rohr suggests the freedom to be the self, the freedom to live in the truth despite all circumstances, that's what great religion offers us. That's why the saints could be imprisoned and not lose their souls. They could be put down and persecuted like Jesus and still not lose their joy, their heart, or their perspective. Secular freedom is having to do what you want to do. Religious freedom, he says, is wanting to do what you have to do. Increasing our inner freedom does not always mean having more options. In fact, in Buddhist teaching, the ethical limits that we put on ourselves actually increase our inner freedom. If we refrain from harming others, we are free from the pain and the guilt of having harmed someone. By living ethical lives, we limit our options, but we feel freer in our hearts and in our minds. Our freedom and our limitations are like two sides of the same coin. We're both free and not free in every single moment. Both our freedoms and our constraints allow us to be not anything, but to be specifically who we are. For Mr. McGregor, the fact of living in a community with other people, those particular problems of those real people, informed his creativity into useful things. The very first mark you put on a blank page limits all that comes after. But you cannot have a painting or a novel or an invention without it. Every living being is limited by our biology, our ecosystem, by the times we live in. And yet, filling every gap like a river flowing surrounds us, permeates us like the air we breathe. Freedom is there too. All around us are oceans of freedom, perhaps rivers. The freedom to think what we think. The freedom to love what we love. And the freedom to be the self. The freedom to live in the truth despite all circumstances. So, I invite you to sing and rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn, song number 1007, There's a River Flowing in My Soul.
And it's telling me
Thank you, band. Please join me as we extinguish our chalice. Do we have Dakota or someone? No. Okay, that's okay.
Oh, Adam's going to. Adam, would you please extinguish our chalice?
We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of love, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world. And remember, you are loved, you are worthy, and everyone, and thank you, Joshua, you are a blessing. So thank you. Happy summer. River flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul, and it's